Some of The Last of Us castmates have been speaking online about whether or not they would like to return for the third game in The Last of Us franchise. Starting with Jeffrey Pierce, who plays Tommy, the actor who played Tommy in The Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2 has discussed what the character's future might look like if Part 3 was ever made. In an interview with Total Film, Jeffrey Pierce, who played Tommy in the games and Perry in the TV show, talked about the future of his in-game character and where he'd like to see Tommy go if Naughty Dog were to develop a third installment of the Last of Us game series. I think one of my favourite things about Neil and the culture of Naughty Dog, Pierce explains, is that they've said very clearly if we can't find the compelling stories to tell within that world, we don't care how much money it would make, we're not going to do it. I think one of my favourite things about Neil and the culture of Naughty Dog, Pierce explains, is that they've said very clearly if we can't find the compelling stories to tell within that world, we don't care how much money it would make, we're not going to do it. Which in this sort of day and age is just about unheard of. There's a lot of potential for what Tommy would try to do, but he's also pretty severely handicapped by the time the second game is over, in a very realistic fashion, so his ability to exert force in any way is certainly compromised. Those who have played The Last of Us Part 2 will remember that Tommy receives nasty injuries during the events of the sequel, ones that affect him months after he receives them. So let's move on to Laura Bailey, who plays Abby, which in an interview with comicbookmovie.com, Bailey reveals she's keen to play Abby again in The Last of Us Part 3 if given the opportunity. She says, I would definitely go back to her. I know there was a lot of drama in response to her character, but it was one of the most influential roles I've had in my life. I would 100% go back to play more Abby if the opportunity came up. So I think she will definitely be appearing in Part 3. I think the story has to include Abby, especially the way the second game ends, and there's so much potential for the character of Abby and what her role will be in the third game, whether it is finding or becoming the new leader of the Fireflies and helping find a cure for the world. And finally, we have actor Troy Baker, who played Joel in The Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2, and they have said they'd be eager to return for Part 3 if it were to happen. In an interview with comicbook.com, Baker spoke about the possibility of there being a third The Last of Us game, revealing that they don't know whether another game is even on the cards at this point. People always ask, is there going to be a Last of Us Part 3? Baker explains, I have no idea. I didn't know there was going to be a Part 2. But if Neil Druckmann has a story that he wants to tell and he wants me to be a part of it in any way, I am there, 7 days a week and twice on Sunday. I absolutely would follow him. So at least we know Joel would be on board for Part 3 if it were to happen. Those who have played The Last of Us Part 2 will immediately see how Baker's return to the series may cause a bit of a problem though. I definitely think Joel has potential to be a part of the story via Tommy's flashbacks. I think will be very interesting, especially if Tommy ends up becoming a main character of the third game and taking Joel's place, where it would be Ellie and Tommy this time around, where Ellie is more caring towards Tommy, rather Tommy being the kind of force behind Ellie, with the protective force behind Ellie. I think that's a different dynamic where it's kind of like a child taking care of their older father, especially with Tommy being handicapped. I think that would be make for an amazing story for The Last of Us Part 3, especially the way Part 2 ended with Tommy having this rage and kind of wanting to get back at the world and kind of being peed off at Ellie for not taking care of business with Abby. I think that will make for an interesting dynamic. I think The Last of Us Part 3 definitely has its story there. It's all on the table. Hopefully we will get it soon and we don't have to wait another 5, 6, 7, 8 years for the next game. Hopefully we do get it within the next 2 to 3 years. My last video, we go over the kind of details on how The Last of Us Part 3 development progress is going right now. So go ahead and check that out. Link in the description, eye in the corner, and also I'll leave it in the comment section below. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Peace out, God bless. Go ahead and subscribe and I'll see you in my next video. Take care, guys.
Not to run away.